Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. If you're catching the replay, welcome to you. This is part 3 of how to be a successful leader on a Level Up for Limitless Leaders. I am so enjoying this series. Every week has been just an amazing experience of learning and sharing. I'm loving your comments and your insights and your feedback. I really appreciate that. So, without further ado and delay, as I keep saying every week, this is not meant to be long, but it's meant to be impactful and informative and transformational. So, let me just get my screen going here so that we can get crack-a-lackin', as they say. So, welcome to part 3 of how to be an authentic leader. And we started off this series talking about what is authenticity and leadership. And truly, it's being true to your beliefs, your values, and your behaviors. So, truly, it's a fancy way of saying walking the talk, right? And in this week, we are sharing on emotional intelligence and how that helps to make you an authentic leader. This particular model, coined by Daniel Goleman in his book, Emotional Intelligence, really blasted off the whole focus on the importance of emotional intelligence in life, period. For anybody, this isn't just a leadership skill, but it makes your leadership better when you do have a high EQ. But this is for everybody. I think this is a skill that children need to learn, teenagers need to learn, young adults, everybody. We all benefit from emotional intelligence. So, as you can see, emotional intelligence incorporates 4 main components, and that is self awareness, self management, social awareness, and relationship management. So you will see that there are 2 quadrants that deal with recognition or awareness. And then there are 2 quadrants that deal with regulation or management, how you manage that. And again, 2 quadrants that deal with the self and 2 quadrants that deal with others. So off the bat, you can see how this truly impacts leadership. We ought to be aware of who we are and how we manage ourselves. We ought to be aware of others and their emotional state, their mindset, mentality, their personality, and how we navigate and manage those relationships. So I want to go through each of these one by one so we can look at how this really impacts our leadership and our ability to be authentic. Starting with self awareness. So, this is our ability to understand ourselves. Why is this important, particularly in leadership? Leadership is challenging. I am not even going to sugarcoat this for you. Leadership is challenging. And so, whether or not you have an innate ability to have a take charge attitude where you walk into chaos and you can automatically see solutions and get things in order, that's one dimension of leadership. Leadership incorporates managing priorities, deadlines, relationships, people, challenges, external and internal. And so there's a lot that you have to deal with as a leader. It isn't just about status and power and money. There is a lot to navigate. So the more aware you are of yourself, the stronger you will be as a leader and the more authentic you can be as a leader. You have to understand yourself. There are things in leadership that's going to trigger you. What do I mean by that? It's going to impact or be the catalyst of inciting certain responses certain beliefs, certain emotions in you. For instance, if a team member that reports to you challenges you and perhaps challenges you in a meeting, is that a trigger for you? Or they say, I don't particularly agree with your idea. Is that a trigger for you? Or your boss gives you some feedback and you feel sensitive about it, you feel insecure about it. Is that a trigger for you? It's important for you to understand who you are, understand your moods and your emotional state in any given moment, and understand where it's coming from. Why did this make me feel this way? And secondly, which is really important, how does your emotional state affect others? Your self-awareness should also say, how does my withdrawing in an argument or disagreement or a failure to have a challenging conversation, how does this affect other people? My inability to organize myself, to keep to commitments, how does that affect others? How does me blowing up and getting angry and getting off steam, how does that affect others? Or making snarky, insulting comments, how does that affect others? Then your self-awareness also help you to understand, how self-confident are you? How courageous are you? How do you feel in your own skin? Are you comfortable with yourself? And when you're comfortable with yourself, as you can see on this last point, you can laugh at yourself. We have had a playwright in the Bahamas called, his name was James Catlin. And unfortunately, he's passed away now, but he used to do stage plays. And there was one that he called Laughing at We Self. That's a little Bahamian dialect for you, laughing at we self. And it was really kind of a parody, looking at aspects of our society and saying, if we would also have this expression, if you don't laugh, you'll cry, right? So it's comedy, but it's really not funny, that type of way. But are you able to laugh at yourself? Sometimes we take ourselves so seriously that we beat ourselves up. We are unkind. We're not compassionate to ourselves. And that translates to other people. Can you look at yourself and not take yourself so seriously and say, you know what? I understand myself. I understand what's happening with me here, and I'm going to work on this side of myself. So that's self-awareness. The next one is self-management. So this now comes hand in hand with awareness. With awareness of yourself now comes your ability, and for some people, inability to manage yourself. And you may say, well, I'm a leader. I'm senior in my organization. I'm a senior executive. I know how to manage myself. Do you really? Can you control your mood or your emotional state? Do you wear your emotions on your sleeve, on your face, your facial expressions, your eye contact or lack thereof? What comes out of your mouth? Can you think before acting on how you feel? Can you suspend judgment until you can verify? Some people are so quick to judge and to jump to conclusions before you get all of the data. Some people are so good at just being rude in a particular situation. Can you handle change and uncertainty? This is your ability now to manage yourself. When you feel unsettled, when you feel that this is not going the way I planned it, this is not going well, how do you handle that? And of course, we've been in the last couple of years handling this uncertainty and complexity and unknown, so many unknown variables and differing opinions and concepts about things. How do we handle that? How do we manage that? How can we stay focused and impartial and unbiased and manage even what we are feeling? As leaders, we are mandated to help our teams navigate these tough times. When we're authentic, We're able to say, you know what? I don't have all the answers. Let's talk about this. Let's see if we can come up with solutions together rather than operating in ego and thinking, oh, well, I have all the answers. Just hold on. Just wait until I come up with the next brainwave. How well are you managing yourself? Now, the next quadrant is social awareness. How good are you at understanding others? Can you empathize with the mood or emotional state of the people around you? This is important. Sometimes we get so tunnel visioned as leaders that we're only focusing on the goal, we're only focusing on the target, we're only focusing on the pressure we may be getting from above. And so we're driving people and we're pushing people and we're making demands and we're doing all of this because we need to make that goal happen. But do we understand where other people are at? Do we understand that maybe other people are struggling? That maybe other people are uncertain, unclear about the assignment itself, or just who they are, lacking confidence or security in themselves. Can you empathize with that? Empathy is a core skill for authentic and effective leaders. Are you aware of what's happening around you in your organization? This is a huge pet peeve for me. Leaders must get out of their offices and out of meetings and out of relying wholly and solely on reports from their leaders in their organization and get into the organization to really get a sense of what is happening, because there is a whole other world going on outside of your meetings and conference calls and email trails. Get out of the office, get out of the realm of top tier leadership and see what's going on in your organization. I love that show on Undercover Boss because I believe it gives the CEOs and owners a completely different view of what is going on in their organization. And it heightens their ability to empathize and to even make important changes. You don't have to go undercover. Trust me, your team will be happy to see you walk the halls and stop and engage in meaningful conversation. Can you identify and build talent? This is your awareness now. This is another pet peeve of mine. Because again, we sit in these boardrooms, and I told you all, I'm going to be real. We sit in these boardrooms and we make decisions on people's lives and people's careers when we don't really know them. And either we are pushing the wrong people forward or we are not building people enough. We're not making ways for them to grow in organizations. Trust me. And it's not just millennials and Gen Zs that want to grow in their organization. I can't tell you how much Generation Xers like me have been overlooked and bypassed for the same types of things. And I believe that this is a human need. We all want to grow. It's just that different generations deal with things differently. So what baby boomers may settle and take on and suffer through in silence, Generation X won't do that. That was the next generation of speaking up and taking risks and doing what fulfills them. And then they give birth to millennials. They are our fruit. And that's why Gen Xers have no issues with millennials and actually make great leaders and mentors for millennials because we get them. We are them. We created them, right? They are the offshoot. Every generation builds on the other. Can you identify and build talent? Are you sensitive to diversity and culture? You want to be so aware of what's going on around you, the people, the issues that are happening, what's going on around us, and to be sensitive in your speech, in your actions, in your policy making and enforcement. Sensitive to diversity and culture. not only the culture of your organization, but the culture of your community and even the nation at large, and even perhaps what's going on around the world and how it may be impacting everything that you are doing. And finally, the final quadrant is relationship management. How do we relate to others? This is critical as an authentic leader. Can you build relationships and networks? Can you collaborate and co create with other people inside and outside of your organization, inside and outside of your peer group, inside and outside of your department? Can you build rapport and connection with others? Or do you repel people with just your presence or your speech or your appearance, your image? Remember, we talked about that in our second session. What is your leadership brand? And is your brand repelling or attracting people to you? Do you influence and inspire others? And it doesn't have to be that you are this charismatic influencer on social media, that you have thousands of followers and all of that. We influence people every day with our daily interactions of how we do things, how we do business, how we communicate, how we show up or not, is how we influence and inspire others. Who are we building? Who are we checking in on? Showing care and concern, showing empathy. Do you influence change and conflict resolution? Are you the catalyst for disrupting the status quo and moving forward in how we ought to do business? Are you focused on resolving the conflicts that may exist and bringing them to rest for once and for all so that they don't fester and become toxic in the environment? So this is a lot. This is a lot to take in. I would encourage you to watch the replay, take notes, take screenshots of this presentation so that you can go back. Because remember, I always have a coaching challenge at the end. And I'd want you to go back and really dig into this stuff some more for yourself. So as I close, what's the connection between authenticity and EQ and leadership? When you know who you are, you can truly be yourself and inspire others to do the same. I had this conversation with a colleague just this week that as leaders, when we are preparing people for succession, when we are mentoring people to groom emerging leaders, seasoned leaders to transition into their next or to just evolve into who they really are, we don't want to create mini-me's. We don't want clones and replicas of ourselves. We want to show people how they can be themselves. So there are some basic pillars, right? The values and beliefs that are consistent. I believe that we ought to share those things of how we operate from a value base and purpose base. But we want people to do it their way, right? We want people to know and be comfortable in their skin and in their leadership ability. That's what we want to inspire people to do. And we can only do that when we know ourselves and we are not operating in ego. We're not operating in, I have to be the one, I have to be the greatest one in the room. When we are authentic and when we have high EQ, we can allow others to shine. We can allow others to grow. We can allow others to speak their truth and live it. Coaching challenge then for this week. Limitless leaders, talking to you. Check your EQ. There are some great free assessments online. You can do a search, pull some stuff up, get a report, take an honest look at where you are to determine your strengths and your growth opportunities. Sometimes we're not aware of what we're really good at. So when I did an EQ test, my social awareness was extremely high. It was the highest of all of the quadrants. And I looked at that. My self-awareness was lower. So my other awareness and other management, self-management was good. My self-awareness was lower in the area of speaking my truth, not understanding my truth and my emotional state. I understand it very well. I had a challenge with speaking honestly about it to other people and being more assertive. So I knew that that was a growth opportunity for me. But my strength was amazing. I was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize, but I do understand that because of what I do, because of being a human resource professional, being a coach, being a mentor. My entire focus is always on other people and reading other people and being, more discerning and intuitive about the people around me and getting to the heart of the matter and dealing with situations and getting to the core of what issues are so we can solve them. So it helped me to understand that and embrace it and appreciate it as a strength. So take an honest look at where you are so that you can see and celebrate what your strengths are and look at what your growth opportunities may be. For some of you, it may be like me with self awareness and being able to speak your truth or just being able to unravel the emotions that you feel, right? Our emotions are more than just happy, sad, angry, and afraid, right? There are levels. That's a whole different conversation. Levels of emotion that we need to understand. For others, it may be more empathy. You're so driven that you don't take time to understand where other people are at and to kind of slow your pace or get in pace with them to see where they're at and what they're doing. Lots to take in, lots to work on, but I believe that this is an important conversation for us to have as leaders as we shift and disrupt the existing leadership that is not working for us in our workplace and our world today. Tune in next week as we talk about how to communicate authentically. As leaders, we have to have many, many conversations, some of them that are positive, some of them that may not feel as positive, and they're crucial conversations for us to have, and they require us to have so much courage. So tune in for part 4 of this 6-part series. I am looking forward to having a couple of my colleagues and friends join me toward the end of this program just to talk more about authentic leadership. I'm really looking forward to that. And I look forward to you continuing to go through this journey with me as we talk about authentic leadership. This is an important conversation, and we need to make sure that we are being our best selves as leaders in this world. How are we showing up? How are we speaking up? How are we really branding ourselves as limitless, effective, purposeful, authentic, transformational leaders? Totally enjoyed sharing with you, loving your comments. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoyed this session. And please tune in next week as we talk about how to communicate authentically. And don't forget, do your homework. Do the coaching challenge. Please look at your EQ. Look at what your strengths are. Look at where your growth opportunities are. And listen, let's get out there and shine. Live limitless. Have an amazing Friday and weekend.